What's up, y'all? This is Bomani Ahmad with the Black Coffee Channel doing our Man on the Street interviews. Now, with the rise in violence in our cities and institutions of higher learning, we're asking the question today, what can we do to stem the rise of violence? All right, so that's the question. We're going to hear some interesting perspectives. See you soon. Peace.
Yeah, in a society where there's easy access to guns and violence is glorified, I guess people see it as a method of proving themselves. Like, if anybody steps in a certain way, you have to react violently. They can't, like, just, like, reason stuff out. And I guess in a society that's also very competitive, people feel the need to do this more rapidly and easily than in other countries, I guess.
How do we approach the rise of violence in our cities or in our institutions of learning? The way we approach the rise of violence, we have to stop the violence, period. We have to stop war. We have to stop war, because that's what's taken over. That's what has taken over. That's what's been taken over. So now it's not just in the black communities, it's everywhere, everywhere. So if you want to stop violence, stop the violence. That starts with the top. Presidents, vice presidents, stop the violence. Leaders, stop the violence, period.
How do we approach the rise of violence in our cities and institutions of higher learning? Well, in my opinion, the best way to approach this rise in violence is to make our cities a place where it's okay to be outside. If you look around our cities, you see that the sidewalks are pretty small and the cars are pretty much, what dominate the cities. But if it's okay for people to walk around, in other words, if there are parks and places where you can go to have a time with your family or friends, then it's a lot safer to be outside. In other words, we can spend less money on highways and more money on things like parks and recreation.
Probably put new better cameras around the buildings or something, just in case something does happen and they get caught for it, so then they won't be able to do it again.
I think that a lot of these people that are involved in the violence in our cities, especially in our schools, they were isolated individuals. They were separated from the community that they were in. A lot of our cities and a lot of our schools, they're becoming larger, highly populated. I think these people need to be integrated into that community. There needs to be a bigger sense of community in those institutions that would help those people feel like they're one with the other people. They're more involved with their community.
We first have to deal with a lot of the mental health implications that are oftentimes kind of glazed over when we talk about violence. This is usually an expression of one's mindset, mind state, and usually mental health facilities in our community are lacking. Mental health actually training is lacking, except at the higher learning levels. And it'd be nice to have some type of services that are available to teach people how to deal with mental health problems within their families, within their neighborhoods, without these people having to have a degree or be educated formally in the sense of college or universities is concerned. That's just one approach. The other thing is that we have to look at how pop culture, how the society as a whole may actually be encouraging violence on certain levels. I used to ask the question, how can we not expect our youth to use violence as a means of solving their differences when our government uses war? That's something to just reflect upon, and as we develop more and more ways to approach violence and the problems that we see in our communities and in our societies that come at the hand of it.
Man, they had some interesting points. I know as an educator myself, I'm always talking to young people about why they see the rise of violence in their neighborhoods to rates that we haven't seen since like 91, 92. I know one of the things is people just trying to find an outlet for the angst and the anger that they feel. Well, let's hear some more perspectives. We're going to interview some people tonight, see how they feel about the same issue. Peace.
Well, I think our main problem, which probably factors in the violence, is the fact that we have no unity in our communities. I mean, it seems like everybody's in this dog eat dog world. Everybody's out for themselves. So really, I mean, there's not really much to lose if people go after each other, killing each other because they're out for themselves.
I believe that this is a problem that has to be addressed starting with our home life. I know a number of people, such as myself, that came from abusive households, and such behavior was displayed in terms of acting out, whether it be violence, verbal lashing out, and things like that. This was something that was never cleared up at home as something not to do out in public. This is learned behavior.
Violence seems to be everywhere in our schools, for sure. I think one way to begin to combat violence in our schools is begin to teach children about peace, specifically bringing in conflict resolution, bringing in classes on stress and anger management, having young people exposed to what it means to live in community at a young age, at an early age, learning about win-win situations, about listening, about dialogue. I think you can learn violence to a certain extent. It's a very much a reaction to what we're being taught and what we see around us. So if we can learn violence as a reaction, we could also learn compassion and learn peace. The cities especially are being bombarded by violence. I think one reason is because very often young people aren't given a chance to get out of the city blocks, sometimes born and raised within the same, 10 blocks, the same neighborhood. So using all those tools, teaching peace, really like creating opportunities, giving young people experiences overseas, I think all that would help reduce the violence. But in the end, it comes down to family. If you're in the school teaching about peace and community building, but then they go home and there's nothing but anger and fighting with their parents and arguing, then there's not going to be any real cohesion. So it's a matter of also bringing it back home to the families.
Whew! That brother's been thinking about that a lot. He had a lot to say on the issue. Well, we heard a lot of opinions on why we've seen the rise in violence in the inner cities and the institutions of higher learning. Something to think about. Definitely think about it yourself. Talk amongst your friends and your family about it. It's an issue we definitely have to deal with. All right. Once again, I'm Bomani Ahmad. This is the Black Coffee Channel, and this is the Man on the Street interview. See you again soon. Peace.